is GRIP, and it stands for Grieve in Peace. And one of the reasons why I named it that was because when people die, we always say, "Hey, rest in peace, rest in peace." When the living is still left over, it's what do you say to them? So one of my things is, well, grieve in peace while picking up the pieces.
We all are gonna die. 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 Why don't we help each other prepare for it? Without death, there could not be life. I'm talking about end of life conversations, conversations about the end of life. Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
Welcome back, everyone, to End of Life Conversations. I am the Reverend Mother Annalouiza here in sacred space with Chrystal Pennic, who is also known as Little Sister Chris and your grief therapist on her podcast. She is a native of Nashville and a graduate of both the University of Memphis and Trevecca Nazarene University. Crystal has a long history in the mental health field dating back to 2005. She began her work in a group home setting with at risk youth and has since served in various roles, including community based mental health, school based therapy, and as a behavioral health consultant in a medical clinic. Her passion for grief, loss, and bereavement deepened during her role as a therapist and Handle with Care coordinator with the Metro Nashville Police Department. She also trained both civilian and sworn employees on the symptoms of trauma, that is, grief, to help mitigate re traumatizing youth in schools and the wider community.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah.
Such good stuff. Thank you. It's so good you could join us today. And I am Reverend Wakil David Matthews, and I'm really glad to welcome Crystal. So she also speaks openly about her own sibling grief on her podcast, The Grip Spot, which stands for Grieve in Peace while picking up the pieces. On the podcast, she sheds light on the marathon journey of grief, which many of us are familiar with. She's the owner and founder of the Grief Center, a practice offering both in-person and telehealth services. The center reflects her lifelong mission to walk with grieving individuals and communities as they navigate loss, healing, and hope. And all of this will
Mm.
be in our podcast notes, so you can reach out to her
Mm.
later. So thank you again, Crystal.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
We like to begin and just get a feel for when people first became aware of death. Can you tell us a little bit about that in your life?
Yes, yes. First death outside of watching Disney and trying to figure out when all dogs go to heaven. That was my first experience with a dog grief. That was my very first Disney experience and trying to understand death because I can remember that like yesterday and
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
crying about it. Uh,
Yeah.
well, I remember that, but my grandmother really started it off and her mother around the same time. So, around the early '90s, is when I started to notice the absoluteness of grief and the absoluteness of
Mm.
death with my
Mm.
dad's mom and my dad's grandmother. And from that time, there was a string of deaths. It's like my dad's side of the family, all the sisters just decided to just die together. So they're like, "Oh, I'm gone. You going
Ah.
too? I'm gone too." So they just decided to go together. So
Oh, Thelma
that
and Louise did.
yeah, that was the beginning.
Okay. Wow. Fascinating. Yeah, that's
Mhm,
really amazing that that would have happened in that way. And so thank you for sharing that.
mhm,
Yeah, so, Disney was the formative moment of recognizing that something has happened,
mhm,
and
mhm.
then, the sisters, hand in hand, decided to leave this plane.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in between, your whole life, how has death impacted the story of who you've become and how you're serving in community today?
Yes. So the death that really shifted my entire, I tell everybody, my entire DNA was
Mhm.
the death of my brother. My brother was diagnosed with leukemia, as a 17-year-old. It was September 13th, 1996 when he was diagnosed. I remember it like it was yesterday. That was
Mm.
also the day that we heard Tupac had died, and my brother was a huge
Mhm.
Tupac fan, and we just didn't understand what was going on when he was
Mhm.
diagnosed with cancer. Oncology was not something that we knew was in our vernacular or anything.
Mhm.
That day, everything turned dark. Everything
Mhm.
in gray.
Mhm.
September
Mhm.
still feels
Mm.
just in the atmosphere, and we're about to come into
Mhm.
September, and I just feel like everything changes in September.
Mm.
So ALL, which is the form of leukemia, is aggressive, and he was diagnosed in September and then died April the 10th of 1997, just less than 30 days from his 18th birthday. He had just turned 18 on March 18th and passed on April the 10th. Um, and we watched him just suffer, and just having a conversation with a 17 and then turned 18-year-old, having conversation with a young man as a 14-year-old, because I was younger sister, I was little sister,
Wow.
and having a conversation with him about, being tired, and my brother
Mm.
having that conversation with my dad too, "I am tired," and my dad resonated with that because the sisters, but
Right.
when they left out and when my grandmother left out, that's something they said, "I am tired. I wanna go home." And it
Wow.
wasn't like we knew it wasn't the location where we live, it was a different home. So
Mhm.
that was a conversation my brother would start having with myself and my
Yeah. Wow. Phew, that's intense.
Wow.
Well, and tell us more about where that has led you, the work you're doing now.
Yeah. So like in the bio, I am the owner of the Grief Center here in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was a journey to get here.
Mm.
So 1997 was a long way away, and sometimes it does feel like it was yesterday. And we
Mhm.
just had 28 years of his passing. I was 14. I am now 43.
Mm.
And in that time of adjusting to childhood bereavement, which I did not know put me at risk of so many things like mental health disability, substance use and abuse, suicide. It put me in all of those risk factors.
Mm.
Mm.
I was a young griever in a big high school. 2,200 students was in this high school, and I remember having a conversation one time with a guidance counselor, and she told me with my grades that I was not gonna graduate from high school. So, I
Mm.
was struggling through geometry, I had algebra was next, I was gonna struggle through that. I had Latin, I don't know why I decided to do Latin. It. And so I was a solid maybe D student, solid
Mm.
D, just grieving, and it broke my heart when she told me that I was not gonna graduate.
Mhm.
So, I from that era did end up graduating. I graduated with my class, and then I was accepted into
Mm.
college, in the college that I wanted to go to,
Alright.
and they accepted me and went to college. Took an extra year. I was there for 5 years, graduated, and then decided to work in the field. Didn't know exactly where I wanted to land. I know I worked with youth, and I loved working with youth. And then grad school happened and graduated from grad school and moved to a different state, started working in school-based, really loved it, decided to get licensed and was licensed right in 2020, right as the pandemic,
Mm.
got my license in the mail. It's like good timing. So grief work as a therapist, I ran from that work. It did make me very tired. At one point
Mm.
my dad and I and my mom started to we did a grief share group with our church, and I
Mm.
was able to do it, but at the same time, I didn't really wanna do it. But it
Mm.
wasn't until I worked with Metro Nashville Police Department, and I was working with victims of crime and
Mhm.
young victims of crime and families of crime where I saw you know what? It's time to stop running from this work. It's also time
Mhm.
on work and get into therapy.
Mhm.
So I
Mm.
therapy, was also working with young victims, and that's where it was like, this is the niche that was chosen for me. I didn't choose it, it chose me. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
that's where I am today after having my own running and my own
Mhm.
denial, my own pains, and still continue to have those pains in different
Mhm.
grief still. So
Mhm.
that landed me right where I am today at the grief center.
Oh, well,
Wow.
first, I wanna just say I wanna honor your sacred journey
Yeah.
Thank
because, yes, you were chosen,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
were trained in real life, and that's what makes you really, like, potent for all those kids out there who
Yeah.
you're in
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's a lived
Yeah.
experience, so I bow down to you in your heart.
Same.
Thank you so
Same.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
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 I'd actually like to hear a little bit more, if you could, about the, like, how that what does that look like in, day to day, working with people in that way?
Mhm.
Yes, yes. I love working with people in grief. And right before this call, I had a client who lost a son. And
Mm.
just sitting with someone, not having the answers because you're not gonna have the answer. It's
Right.
very
Right.
acute. It just happened. So it's very acute, and I'm just need to know, did you eat today? I wanna
Mhm.
know, did you drink water today? Because
Mhm.
Mhm.
what we see is in these moments is you don't wanna eat anything and you
Mhm.
don't wanna drink anything. Do you have supports? Do you have people around you? Because one thing we don't want to happen is you get in the car and have an accident or have an incident,
Mhm.
and one thing we another thing we don't wanna see is going into the hospital because you're dehydrated or malnourished or didn't take your medicine.
Mhm.
You're not gonna think of it. You're not
Mhm.
Mhm.
foggy of it, the fogginess of it, the shock of it, that you're not gonna think about nourishing yourself. You just are in a shell, and
Yeah.
when you're in war
Mhm.
happens, you're in a shell of yourself, and all of those things about nurturing ourselves will not come to us, sometimes for a long time, at
Yeah.
least
That's right.
3 months, like, where you be like, "Oh, I haven't felt hungry in 6 months." It's
Mhm.
a shell of myself,
Mhm.
Mhm.
in brain science, I'm really nerd out on brain science and trauma, and basically that is meant for you so it won't kill you.
Yeah.
Your
Mhm.
functions are just to go in autopilot. Your brain is not thinking like it normally would. That's why memory
Mm.
loss is huge,
Yeah.
in grief, and, it's really to protect your body because 'cause
Mhm.
Hmm.
we're in freeze. It's gone through a traumatic event, so we're in freeze in order to get through what we need to get through.
So,
Mm.
yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Mm,
I really appreciate that, that framing of it, like being in a shell,
mhm,
because we've all experienced it. Many of us on the many of our audience members probably have experienced that too. There's that sense when somebody dies and it's close to you, and it's like it just feels like nothing makes sense anymore. Like,
mhm.
right, you're looking around, you can't figure out why people are still acting normal, you know? Uh,
Right,
yeah, and yourself, like you said, you're kinda surrounded by this protective shell that says, "Just take the next step," really, right?
mhm, mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, so what a wonderful support and, work that you're doing to help those folks, so
So, I really do appreciate that too, that you're helping out bear witness to all these people who are going through this intense grief moment. So, what do you find are really big challenges for you as you do your work?
Challenges in this grief world
Mhm.
can be vast, and not just the grief stuff. It's more like now that I'm an employer, it's who is appropriate to sit with people in grief.
Mm.
Mm,
Mhm.
Uh, and then that means that my therapists are going to have to tackle their own fears and their own
Mhm.
uncomfortable, spaces or uncomfortable spaces. Are you equipped to even do traumatic grief,
yeah,
murder,
Mhm.
those type things? So, on top of trying to make sure that insurance, handles
Yeah.
insurance pays because the work that I do, I can see others that do the same work, but they're private pay, right? So
Mm,
I have majority
Mhm.
insurance, which a lot of clinicians do not accept insurance anymore, but I wanna be able to be accessible, right?
yeah.
Mhm. That's right.
Because I didn't have a therapist, I didn't know anything about it, I didn't have a therapist until I was good into my late 30s,
Mm,
Mhm.
from 14 to 38 years old, so I would've
Mhm.
benefited from having the access and the knowledge that it existed.
Mhm.
Me. Uh,
Mhm.
so being able to first be aware and teach people about their own grief here in the center and be ready for anything that comes in these walls. Are
Mhm.
you ready for people who will sit in your office and wail? Will you
mm,
give them
Mhm.
that space?
Mhm.
Or will you
Mhm.
be ready for a young person that comes in and they look so nonchalant or they're angry? Are you able to
Mhm.
handle the angerness or the nonchalant teen that's like, I don't know. I don't know. So I don't.
Mhm.
Are you gonna be able to handle those? Or someone who just laughs through everything
mm,
and in
Right.
their processing, it looks like laughter or it seems
Mhm.
humor, but deep down, they're just hiding and masking. Can you get down to the deeper levels of that? So I have to do a
Mhm.
lot of evaluating with who I
Mhm.
bring in. So
mhm,
it's harder to try to get licensed therapists because they can do gig economies, other places. They can just stay at home and do all the things versus being in person. But that I think those are the challenges and nuances. Uh,
Mm.
I experience on the admin more side and training therapists than the grief itself. But
mhm.
it's a continuous learning journey.
Yeah, wow, what a great work.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
wish we need about 10 more of you.
And, like,
Yeah,
Just there, just in the South. Now we
yeah.
need in every area. That's
yeah.
great. That's what wonderful work. And, yeah, I know we've actually just been talking a little bit about the difference between a three-dimensional one-on-one connection with somebody
Mhm.
and this, the beauties and the curse of
Mm,
technology where we can also be two-dimensional and have this great communication, but it's not the same as actually
Mhm.
being in person. So that's
Mhm.
a really wonderful model that you're doing there.
thank you.
Yeah. So as you're looking at all of this, as you're dealing yourself and of course working with grief and loss on a daily basis, is there anything that frightens you about the end of life?
I think what still as and this started, watching my brother. Um,
Mhm.
I am heavy, heavy spiritual in the South, deep Christianity. And what I found is we talk a lot about death in songs, getting prepared for death, being right in with
Mm.
the Lord for death, and all of that. But we still have unanswered questions.
Mhm.
Know what that looks like. It's a control thing too. I can't control when it's gonna happen. You
Right.
know? So I think, as far as the fear is concerned, just what happens immediately after? What does that look like? And I'm a '90s kid, right? So one of the songs that I listened to back in the '90s was Alanis Morissette when she was, like, thinking about, "Don't think about death as it being over at the end." And I was like, "Okay, well, I know that, but what does it look like? I wanna know. I wanna know." So I believe it's more like the fear of not
Hmm.
knowing.
Mhm.
And then I am a surviving sibling again, and I have 2 parents. I have parents that are aging, and,
Mm.
with the fear comes is when is it that Imma lose them to?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is a big fear of mine, and as my only sibling, it's like and then doing it alone, that
Mhm.
is
Yes.
a fear in death, doing this life alone, when I have 2
Mhm.
parents and that's family, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
my family just continuing to change in that way.
Mm.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Mm,
It does. It's well, I was gonna speak to your first fear about not knowing what happens.
mhm,
Wakil and I met at seminary, so even back then we had these kind of conversations, but I was like just living in the mystery, like, oh, like, it's just I don't know. I am excited for,
Yeah.
unfortunately for my kids with it. But it is a very real fear that I hadn't really I mean, I think about it, but I don't think of it much as having to be a sole s child to parents who are aging, who at some point I will also have to do the heavy lifting of caring for them at the end of life.
Mhm.
So that is a very true and, yeah,
Yeah, I could
something to think
certainly see
about.
that. Yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
even
Mhm.
in my case where when my parents died, my brothers were still here, but they were pretty much checked out. They were like the person that you mentioned that just kinda, I'm not gonna think about this." Um,
Mhm.
and so it really was almost like being a single,
Yeah.
one person
Mhm.
because it was really all up to me, to
Mhm.
deal with. And
Mm.
I was the one person who, wasn't connected to their particular religion, but there it was, it's your job, and so I think that might have been well, it certainly was, as we talk about important in my path going forward,
Mhm.
to realize how important that is and how much people aren't ready for it. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
So, okay, these are all very heavy thoughts that we're having, that you have on a daily basis.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, when things feel just a little bit harder and heavier, what do you do to keep yourself resourced, find the energy to refill your cup?
yeah,
Yeah, really good question because as a new employer and seeing clients, it got to be a bit much this year.
yeah,
And I could feel myself in a spiral. I could feel it coming. I am a person that really enjoys going to the water. I
mm.
have to have it's a non-negotiable. I have to go to the ocean. And I have
Mhm.
been thinking about going since April. I was gonna go in April to Florida. I normally have a routine where I drive from Nashville to the Pensacola area, which is about 7 hours for me, and I love it because my family is in Alabama area, in Montgomery, Alabama, so I can make some stops and things like that on the way to
Mm,
Pensacola. So
Very cool.
I make this trip about once or twice a year. Now that I'm an employer, it's harder to get away. So I have
Mhm.
Right?
prolonged it a bit, and I could tell in just me in making mistakes, careless mistakes, and I
Mm.
couldn't think clearly. I was
Mhm.
like, I need to be able to step away,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I did. I went to the ocean. This time went to Fort Walton Beach, Destin area, and when I tell you being in the water for me is very spiritual, it is
Mhm.
a connection that I have. I say my best prayers in the water. I
Mm,
cry my best tears in the water.
yeah.
It is something that I have to be able to do, and that's
yeah.
just
Mm.
once a year, right? Once or twice a
Mhm.
year. But that is a decision maker right there that once I come back different.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm,
And so
Mhm.
I have to have water, and then I'm now, I have my own therapist. She is trained in the intervention called brain spotting, and
mm,
brain spotting heals the brain. And
Mhm.
how she operates, she gives me 2 hours at a time. I need it. She knows I'm a business owner. She knows I do the podcast. She knows I do all these things. And she said, "Okay, so let's just do 2-hour
Mm,
sessions." And
mhm.
I was like, "Yes, ma'am." In
Yes,
there.
please.
Yes, and immediately it took me no time to feel comfortable with her. I walked
Mhm.
in her office the first day and sat on her couch and put on a blanket and just
Hmm.
leaned back. Like, "I told you I need a safe place to land." And she's like, "Well, let's get
Mhm.
started." And
Mm,
so she has been a good
Mm,
addition in
mm,
my life, and I
yeah,
Good.
am so blessed to have a
Mhm.
therapist who is right there with me, understanding she's also a business owner. She has lost parents before, and so she can speak into my situation. So it's been really good.
mhm.
Yeah, really good.
oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's so
but
important.
God yeah, God bless her, because we
Yeah.
Yeah,
do all need a very good therapist.
yeah,
Mhm.
I got
exactly.
one too. I've got one
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't mind me sharing a gift with you too, I really want you to have more sea salt around you because it is very important. But, my I was trained with this, person who insisted that every day I had to bless myself with water and cleanse
Mm.
myself to get rid of anything that wasn't of service,
Oh,
and so I would say to you, an Epsom salt foot bath every night might be what you need how you can connect with
yes,
There you
that
go.
cleansing because it's a cleansing, it's the sea
yes.
salt, it's the acknowledging that the water is the holder of all of who you can be and are and have been, and so if you can't get to the beach, like, find ways that,
Make
you
the
can
beach
still connect. Yeah,
yeah,
Thank
connect with
bring
that
the
water because
bring the beach to
it's
you.
important.
yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's a great idea. Yeah, I also really think it's wonderful to, and something I'd really wanna emphasize for the audience is that to find somebody who you can spend time with, if it's a therapist, if and some people maybe can't afford a therapist, but
Mhm.
there's going to be, there's ministers, there's, spiritual
Spiritual
directors,
directors.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's doulas, there's a lot of different people out there who are trained
Mhm.
and can
Mhm.
be there for you in a compassionate, listening way.
Mhm.
So important to have that in your life, as you pointed out,
Mhm.
especially, of course, especially if you're trying to run a business and or
Mhm,
just life in general can generally
Mhm.
be overwhelming for anybody. But yeah, thanks
Mhm.
for making that point. I think that's so important.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, that's great. What a great plan. And I got to tell you, this funny story is that I made that same trip from Florida to Nashville the other
Mhm.
direction by accident. Because we
Yeah.
because we missed the plane.
Oh,
We're like, "Oh, dang." It was on, like, New Year's Day or something. We'd
oh,
missed the
man.
plane. We're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I guess we're driving." So,
Okay.
anyway, it was beautiful until it got dark, and then it was like, "Ah, this is such a long drive."
Yes, yes.
But we really enjoyed Nashville.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything you wish we had asked you? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I will share with you my Grip Spot podcast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I started the podcast in 2019 under a different name, which was Surviving Sibling Loss, the Forgotten
Mhm.
Mourners
Mhm.
podcast. And it was
Mhm.
just me in my kitchen, on my phone, eating, and I said,
Mhm.
"Breakfast with Little Sister."
Oh,
And
nice.
I
Mhm.
was just thinking, let me be able to express now that I'm grown and I'm in my own house, in
Mm.
my own safe.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let me express the words that I didn't have as a young person and just talk it out, talk it out.
Wow.
And so I would just talk to myself basically, not knowing who would listen or didn't even really care, and, would put out episodes about once a month and
Mhm.
just talk about all the things that I thought about from, at the age I was then to back to I was 14 years old. And what I noticed was, some people started emailing me, and I had the first person that emailed me, she lives in Canada.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
if Erla ever listens to this, I just thank her for reaching out to me, all the way from Canada. She is also a surviving sibling, and
Mhm.
she
Mm.
said she couldn't sleep, and she found my podcast and listened to it
Mm.
voice, and that was in 2019, and I still hear from Erla now. I met her in
Mhm.
person at a Compassionate Friends, conference last year.
Hmm.
Another young lady I met, her name is Maggie, that's my other sibling. I met her, she
Mhm.
sent me some emails and things like that, but they have all been on my podcast.
Mhm.
So I started out audio only. In 2022, I decided to go on YouTube and do video, and then, decided to do some in-person,
Mm.
Mm.
people. So I started out just doing all sibling interviews and all of that, and then, my own story. And then because I'm a licensed therapist, I just started to open it up not just for siblings, but everybody's healing experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Father, mother,
Mhm.
sister, brother, all open it up, to grief. So that's why I changed the name to the Grip Spot. So
I love that.
GRIP
Mm.
is GRIP, and it stands for Grieve in Peace. And
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I named it that was because when people die, we always say, "Hey, rest in peace, rest in peace."
Mhm.
Mhm.
When the living is still left over, it's what do you say to them?
Mhm.
So one of my things is, well, grieve in peace. Grieve in
Mhm.
peace while
Mm.
picking up the
Oh,
pieces.
So beautiful.
so
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean that it's
Mm.
peaceful, in order sometimes in a lot of countries, in order to get peace, there's war, right?
Mm.
There's rest. And so in order to get to the peaceful spaces, there's gotta be some unrest. So
Yeah.
grieve
Mhm.
peace.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, thank you
Uh,
for that. The
yeah.
spirit definitely moved with that language because
Yeah.
that there does we have been lacking something to say to the person who is left behind.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
really have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Grieve in peace.
I love that.
Mm.
Mhm.
Great. So good. Yeah. And we actually, and maybe we can come be on your podcast sometime. That would be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, of course. I would love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we love trading podcasts. That's one of our fun things to do.
Mm.
This has been such a fun ride for us. So you said you had a quote that was enjoy being.
Enjoy
Um,
being.
yeah. So why
Mm.
don't you tell us about that quote? That'll be
Yeah.
our final part here.
Oh, it's a quote by a good friend. I left Nashville for Virginia just because I was running away. I
Hmm.
was quite tired of being in Nashville with my family. My parents were divorcing and finally had gotten divorced after grad school, and I was just tired. And
Mm-hmm.
so I left and worked in a place called Pulaski, Virginia.
Hmm.
Very rural, nothing
Mm-hmm.
like Nashville at all, culture shock completely. And the friend that I met there, I worked with her. Her name is Laura. And Laura, she would always say, "Enjoy being." And it was
Mm-hmm.
on
Mhm.
her tags, her car tags and everything, "Enjoy being, enjoy being." Now
Mm-hmm.
this is 2012, 2013. I came back home in 2014. I have continued to, be in contact with her through social media.
Mm-hmm.
I've always seen her say this, but when she said it on my birthday, which was in August 5th, when she said it to me on my birthday, and she just recently lost her dad, it resonated with me so well when she
Mhm.
said, "Enjoy being."
Mhm.
So, I took her words to the beach with me in Florida, and I stayed in a shipping container, and it was so nice. I stayed in a little shipping container, it was very nice, it's a little Airbnb, but it had an outdoor space.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the days that I was there, it started to rain, real tough, rain, but the good thing about Florida weather is when it rains, it's not like in Tennessee and Nashville. When it rains here, it's thundering and lightning.
Mhm.
It's not really comfortable to be outside. So in Florida, it was raining and it didn't thunder or lightning, it was just
Mm.
windy, rain.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, I thought about enjoy being. So I the
Mhm.
shipping container, I got outside, let it rain on me. I got down on the ground and I just laid
Mm.
out on their
Wow.
porch and let it rain on me.
Mm.
And one of the things that I felt at that moment of enjoying being was the blessings of the rain.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
didn't realize how many individual raindrops would drop on somebody until
Mhm.
attention. So laying back and having all the individual raindrops and the wind and all of that, I could hear some police in the background. I could hear all of that stuff. But for me, I didn't have an SOS. I didn't have an emergency. I was enjoying
Mhm.
being one with the rain and receiving
Mhm.
blessings. So that's why I
Mm.
quote for especially people in grief, because for so long I gave my life to grief and I still give my life to grief. But I
Mhm.
missed some of my years. It was
Mm.
so hard. I missed some of my years and I missed some of my living. So
Hmm.
enjoy being alive.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can hear my brother say, "You had a choice. You lived. So live.
Mhm.
Enjoy being." It still hurts, but
Yeah.
enjoy being. Don't
Wow.
Mhm.
living too.
What a wonderful way to
Mm.
See, and actually that last we usually do a poem, but I'd say that story was a poem.
It is a poem, and it's also a testament to, again, water being what you need to be a part
Yeah.
of. You need to, like, sprinkle water on yourself every day because
Yeah,
it is powerful for you. It is so powerful. It is such a protectress.
it
Mm.
is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Oh,
I
so
think you could
lovely.
just put a shower in your business, just before you
Right? Outdoor shower would be great too. Yeah. Mhm.
All right.
Oh, I love
Well,
this.
thank you again so much, Crystal. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate
Oh,
you coming and
yes.
talking to us, and we'll be in touch. We'll let you know when this goes live, and, tell all your friends.
Yes.
Yeah, we're always looking for a good story, so
Yep, and blessings on your journey. Like,
Thank
yeah.
you.
may God just, mark your steps and keep you safe because it
Mhm.
is so lovely
Yeah,
I
what you're
yeah.
doing.
appreciate
It's
it.
so needed.
Such an
Yeah.
honor. Take care.
Mhm.
Mhm. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please stick around after the credits for our afterthoughts, and it helps our numbers if you stay until the end. We want to thank my children, Nate, Vivian, Nina, and her fiance Asher, for the excellent opening song, and a special thanks to our awesome editor, Sam Zemke, who is also a guest on our podcast. You can listen to him on Season 4, Episode 5. Also, thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.
Okay.
Wow.
So cool. What an important thing to deal with to sibling loss to begin with, but also
Yeah, we've never
trauma.
had that. We've never had a
Yeah,
sibling loss, like,
person.
professional.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And to have a place where people can come and have therapists and somebody who's an expert and knows this stuff. And wow, what a great model. I hope we can encourage that model elsewhere.
I know, and I'm also really curious, a lot of the folks that we speak to, if they're working in, like, a corporate medical industry kind of place, they're probably getting insurance
Hmm.
as a way to get paid, but a great many of our folks whom we talk to are kind of doing it on their own.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that as it's a really heavy lift to do insurance,
Yes, it
but
is.
she's doing it because it does give people access to her,
Yeah.
which I feel like that is actually a really great role model to support and talk about and see who else is doing that because we really do need more people to have access to
Yeah,
bereavement,
exactly.
grief,
Hmm.
therapy.
Yeah. And I think this could be one of those extended things that we could, a bit of it at the beginning of what we just said could be the clip at the end, but also I think we could talk a little more about the fact that if somebody is planning or thinking about how they could do this,
Mhm.
this would be a great episode for them to listen to hear how she's worked through it, and especially the challenges that she's
Mhm.
had,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and trying to keep insurance available and make it accessible. She made that point
Yes.
so important because
Well, and finding people who can actually do the work,
yeah, that was a big
right?
challenge. Yeah. And we've had, many people talk to us about accessibility and affordability. So this is something, again, people could be working on in their own community. How do I create something like this that would be a support for sibling loss or for
Mhm.
trauma in general, for grief in general?
Mhm.
And how would I do that in a way that would have integrity and would have people who knew what they were doing and would
That's
be
right.
affordable. And that, maybe it comes back to the idea of a nonprofit that supports people and that kind of thing. But
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, so
There's so
yeah,
much work to do.
yeah, it never ends.
Mm-mm. Well, and at the end too, it seems like the model is capitalism cannot have its hooks on all of us because we are so many who have gifts to share with people. We're so many who have a heart to support those who are going through really
Yeah,
bad trauma, grief, bereavement. I mean, so many of us, but
yeah,
we still need to put bread on the table. So
Mhm.
how do we collectively say this is enough? Our
Yeah.
death process is so sacred.
Mhm.
We need to just show up and support somehow.
I love the gift economy idea that we've talked about
Mhm,
before.
mhm,
Just this sense of could we create a way to support each other? You know, bring me a dozen eggs and I'll spend a half
mhm,
an hour with you or something.
mhm. Yeah,
Things like that, and just sort of make it that. We had the one person who was doing some great work, and she just said, I'm willing and want to do this as much as possible in a gift economy way because I have enough."
mhm.
You know, of course,
Yeah,
our way of living in this culture is supported through cash money, right? So
right.
it's a lift, like you said, it's a big lift to find your way through that and find your way to make that work. So
Yeah,
a lot of choices, a lot of work we could all do to try to figure out how that works and how we could make it
yeah.
affordable and accessible for people who need it. And there's
That's right.
no lack of people who need it.
No lack, and there will be more people who
Yeah,
need it.
yeah,
So, yes.
yeah.
Well, good. Well, yet another wonderful soul that we have intersected with.
We are so blessed. We are so
We
blessed.
are.